Hi and welcome back to the channel. I was particularly looking forward to making today's video because I'm going to compare a Generation 1 Tesla Model 3 with a Generation 3 Tesla Model 3. So that's a 2020 long range made in California with a 2024 standard range made in China. Now I'm lucky enough that these are both my company cars. One is going back in 2 days and one arrived 2 days ago. So I've got this small window to make this comparison for you. So I'm going to go round the cars, I'm going to drive them, and we're going to give you an idea about whether or not, if you're thinking of buying one, you should go new, or perhaps you should take advantage of the fact there's going to be loads of used 3-year-old ones popping up on the market as lease deals come to an end. Stay tuned to find out more. So the Tesla Model 3 was announced in 2016 and then first released in the US in 2017. First ones arrived in the UK in 2019, so it said a lot of lease deals will have begun in 2019, 2020, and they will have come to an end now, so you'll find there's more and more used cars available. And this particular one is a long range. So for me, I've always liked the look of the Model 3. And now a lot of people think that the front looks a bit like a frog because of the flat nose and the shape of the lights. I don't see it. I quite like it. It was kind of reminded me of some of the Ferraris actually. I know it's a little optimistic, but and I've always loved the plastic covers. I think they just look sporty. But if you are interested in taking the covers off, this is what the wheels look like on the original. You go, and you know they're all right, but it's funny they don't look undersized when they've got the hubcaps on, but they do when you take the hubcaps off. So this model being a 2020, you'll notice there's chrome around the windows and chrome around the indicator and the camera here on the front. In 2021, the Model 3 was facelifted, kind of a midlife facelift, if you will, which is why this is a Generation 1 and the new one, the Highland model as they call it, is a Generation 3. So you've got this Generation 2 in the middle, where they didn't tweak the outside much, just swapped the chrome for black. So the handles and the window surround, but crucially they did a bit of a tidy up inside, and I must admit they did improve it quite a bit. So in terms of the design, as I said, it's not really changed much on the new one. It works, it's functional. Admittedly, you know, it would be great if it was a hatchback, but then that's what the Tesla Model Y is designed to do. So in the 3, you have a single piece of glass that goes right the way up to here, which is the middle. So if you look where that is contextually, that's smack bang between the front and the back, and then it comes to the front, a little bit of a break, and then you've got the windscreen. So there's a lot of glass, but that break in the middle, I open it up, you can see means that there's that beam that goes across the middle of the car. Now in the Y, all of this is one piece of glass from the front back to here, and then that's where you've got the beam, and then this separate piece of glass is attached to the boot. So that means that car opens up and the whole thing opens up, as in a hatchback, whereas this is a saloon, so the glass stays in place and it's just the boot lid that opens. Now, arguably, the size of the boot is one of the most impressive things about it, because you've got loads of room back there, you've got more room down there because of course there's no fuel tank. You've got a little bit more storage space down there. That one's blocked off for whatever reason. And the only challenge might be sometimes the entrance to the boot could be bigger, but it's not bad. I've never really had an issue with it. You can always put the seats down if you need a bit more space. They are a little prone to getting moisture inside the lights. I've had mine replaced twice actually. Dead easy though. You just go on the Tesla app and you tell them what's wrong with it, and a guy pulls up in a Model S a few days later, swaps it out in less time than it takes to boil a kettle. I know that because I offered him a drink and he said, "I'll be gone by the time the kettle's boiled," and sure enough, he was. So in terms of the looks, as I said, the 2020 and the Generation 1, great looking car. Said virtually the same as the Generation 2, apart from the chrome being swapped out for black. Inside, it's quite different between the 1, the 2 and the 3. And once you're in the car, Teslas are of course very well known for being minimalist, particularly the Model 3, and it doesn't disappoint. You don't have any dials there, you've just got this one screen and everything is on there. In terms of the dash, you've got this kind of wood effect, which I don't mind. I don't love it. It's not aged especially well, but it's okay. Quite a few people do third-party changes and they put Alcantara on it, just so it doesn't look quite so, well, wooden. And you've got Alcantara here, and this is, again, it's kind of it's a padded plasticky cover. Now down here, the center console, so this is a generation 1. So you've got phone chargers, but they're hidden under here. So you have to push this and then that slides up. It's rubberized, they don't move around, which is good. Then you've got some storage under here. Now again, you've got to sort of push it down and it lifts, and then you've got to put it down at just the right speed. If you put it down too fast, it doesn't stay, which is fine, you just get used to it. I've not hoovered it, apologies. So in there, you've just got quite a lot of deep storage, and this does lift up. And there's a USB-C socket back there. You've got the cup holders here. Now, I've got these rubber bits in that I bought from Amazon because the standard bits like that are massive. So if you put like a can in it, for example, they just rattle around. It's super annoying. You'll notice as well that this is matte. Now, most of the generation 1s that you get in, this is glossy black. Now, it's not gone anywhere. The glossy black is still underneath. I just bought these stick-on covers from Amazon because I just got sick of fingerprints all over the glossy black. I just didn't like it. And then you've got, under the armrest, you've got a massive space there. You've got a traditional cigarette lighter charger there. And yeah, it's just a useful space. And the armrest's super comfortable. It's not adjustable, it won't go halfway up, but it's comfortable. I can't complain about it at all. Speaking of which, the back, there's loads and loads of leg room. Like that front seat is in a position where you've got lots of leg space, but behind it, look, you've still got loads. The only thing you've got to be aware of is in a Tesla, the batteries are in the floor, which means the floor is quite high and the seats are quite low. So you can often find yourself with your knees not touching the front of the seat. They are, you know, up a little bit high. If you've got somebody who's got really long legs, they're going to find that quite uncomfortable after a while, but it's not so bad. So the seats do come down, and if I pop the armrest down, it's comfortable, but it's that stupid design where if you use it, you are putting your arms in this uncomfortable piece of plastic. I don't know why they put cup holders in the middle of armrests. It's just annoying because you can't rest your arms. You got pockets on the back. They're just cheap as chips. They're quite hard to get things in and out of, but they do the job. At the end of the day, it's a pocket. Obviously, being an electric car, it has a completely flat floor, which is fantastic. There's some receipts down there, apologies, and a couple of USB-Cs here. So your passengers in the back can charge their phones, and they've got their own vents here as well, so it stays nice and cool in the back. You've got the front, which is, you have to go back inside and push the button to open. Really straightforwardly, you just push the button there. But inside, just got the charging cables, and it's a good space. Can't argue with it. It's genuinely very useful. Which brings us on to the 2024 Model 3, or the Highland as it was called during development. Now this one is in Ultra Red, which is a brand new colour for 2024. I'm a massive fan of it. I think it looks lovely. I don't think it's quite as nice as that red that Mazda make, which I still think is probably the greatest colour I've ever seen on a car, but I do think it looks really, really great. I love the new headlights. That's obviously a modernisation. We've lost that flat front that I mentioned about the old one. I think it looks a bit Aston Martin-y with those lights, but one of my friends assures me that actually it looks a lot like Lightning McQueen, which I can see, to be fair. Coming around the side, this particular model is a standard range. Now, the other one, the 2020 over there, is a long range, so which means the other one has a motor on each axle, generates about 350, 360 brake horsepower, and can do 0 to 60 in a ridiculous 4.2 seconds. This one is two-wheel drive, so it's just a rear-wheel drive driven by a single motor. Battery capacity goes down to about 55 kilowatts instead of 75 in the long range, and this does 0 to 60 in 5.8 in this new version. The Generation 2, so the previous Model 3 that was updated in 2021, did it in about 5.3, I believe. So they've slowed it down, but as a result, they've been able to get more efficiency on it. Now the sun's catching that red. It does look like the Mazda, actually. That's beautiful, and you can see how metallic it is. Yes, like that. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, so from the side, profile-wise, it's much the same. You've got new wheel covers, and new wheels below, actually, if you want to know what the wheels look like. Here you go. I think they look pretty cool, but I think much like the last generation, when you take the covers off, the wheels look quite small against the car, whereas with the covers on, for some reason, they don't. I went with the white interior, which I will show you shortly. I absolutely love it. We'll wait and see if I regret that, but right now I think it's fantastic. And the other change in appearance is around the back, so the lights are different. So instead of half the lights being on the car and half the lights being on the tail lid, now everything's on the tail, and it's electric. To be fair, they updated that in 2021 and that became electric, whereas the Gen 1 is manual. So it's great that this one's got the electric on there. And as you can see, no lights. The whole of the light is connected to the boot lid. But what it does do is use these lights at the bottom. So you can see that one of them is lit there, another one over there. Your reverse lights are down there. So when you're parked up, if you've got the boot lid up, then people driving behind, say if you're parked on a side of the motorway, then people can still see you, which is good. The boot is essentially exactly the same as the other one. Still really, really spacious. Still got the space down there, which does cover, by the way. You can just cover that up if you want just a regular flat boot, but I quite like it open. Still got that storage space down there, but on this one, they've made the storage space on the other side available. As a sign of the times, a pack of face masks, just in case. That's by pushing the button. So externally, there's a couple of tweaks, but actually it's exceptionally similar. Let me show you inside. You notice the black trim. So I said continuing from the 2021 model, black trim there and the black handles. Again, the difference between this and the Generation 1. But let me show you inside. Again, grab the fat bit. There we go, and we're in. Now the first thing to point out is the windows. You'll see these are double glazed, and that is right the way around the car. So it's exactly the same with the rear windows. So the idea there is that you get much better sound insulation, because one of the problems, and I'll show you when I take it for a drive, with the first gen car is that it can get a little bit noisy from wind noise, particularly at higher speeds or on a rougher road surface. So that can be a little annoying. Door is much the same as the other one. You've got this kind of leatherette on here. The difference here actually is the pocket is carpeted. The previous one wasn't, but this is carpeted now. Still got the window controls exactly as before. Still got the emergency handle. But now at least the door button has a picture of a door, which is progress, I guess. Model 3 kicks there. And also this little gap here, because the door has this extra stabilising bit, which is really interesting. I mean, I guess it's a frameless door, so it's just presumably for stability, but I do quite like it as a feature. It looks just a little bit more premium in here. There's no two ways about it. And there's a couple of things that I'll take you through that are definitely different to the other car. First and foremost, the steering wheel. It's lovely. It's definitely a higher quality wheel. It's better stitching, it's tighter stitching, there's less gaps, it feels nice and premium. That's a big step up. Appearance wise over here, the wood has gone, been replaced with, I don't know what it is actually, kind of like felt. But you've also got this cool LED light that goes right the way around the car and into the back down the door. So it's currently on red, but you can change the colour as you'd expect. And of course I have these white seats, and they are very white. I'm not talking cream, they are white. But the great thing is they're now vented. You see, you've got the holes in them. And so you've got the option, unlike on the Generation 1 or the Generation 2, is you can go to heated or cooled for your seat. So then you can put it on different levels of cool. And the fans will blow cool air through those holes. Now, one thing you'll notice is missing is the stalks. Now, obviously, if you've looked at any other Tesla video, you'll be acutely aware that the indicators have moved to buttons on the wheel instead of stalks. Now, I got this car 2 days ago, and I have admittedly spent a little bit of time getting used to the fact that I keep going like that to turn a corner and there's nothing there. Honestly, it's taken me all of about 2 days to get used to touching a button. It's of little consequence. It's really not a big deal. I ride a motorbike as well, and that's the same thing. You do your indicator with your thumb. It auto self-cancels, so when you change lane, it self-cancels. When you take the corner, it self-cancels. It's really, really simple. And instead of pulling the stalk there to flash the lights, now you just push a button on there. And again, which you can do easily with your thumb, it's of little consequence. This is your stereo controls, so you turn it up and down. And also you can hold your finger on it and change the function on there. I have it choosing between chill and normal, which is the driving mode. So chill just means your acceleration isn't quite so aggressive. Admittedly, this car, I said, isn't anything like as aggressive as the long range version, because it's just a bit more sedate. But it's not a bad thing. I think it's much more comfortable for it, to be fair. I drive the other one in chill mode now, though. Otherwise, you'll make your passengers sick. I promise. Over on the right here, you have voice control and your windscreen washers. You just touch it and it just does a single wipe. Or if you hold your finger on it, then it will squirt water and clean it as well. Likewise, you can just push that button at any point and it will activate the cameras around the car. So when you're driving, if you want to see the people around you and see whether or not you think they're a bit close to you, then it's no problem at all. And then cruise control. Now that used to be that you push the stalk while you were driving down to activate. Now you do it with this. So you push it once and that activates it double tap it, and that activates the auto steer, which is the autopilot cruise control, which is really, really good. I must admit, I like it. The free version, which comes on every Tesla, will drive you and keep you in a lane without any issue. It'll make sure it keeps a safe distance from the car in front, which you choose the distance of by just adjusting that side to side. You can see there that that's changing how far you are from the car in front. It's dead simple to use. So the stalk not being there, honestly, not a big deal. You would used to push down for D and up for R, and now you do it all here. So if I put my foot on the brake, you actually do it on the screen. So as it says, you put your finger on the car and you push up, now it's in drive. Or if you want to push down, now it's in reverse, which activates all the cameras. It's and then tap Peter Park, which is quite cool. But they've thought of everything as well. Should the screen fail, up here, where you've got your hazard button, if you give it a tap, you've also got PRND. So if the screen fails, you can even just press D up there, and then you're in drive and you're ready to go. And when you're done, back into park. Quite like that. Said it's quite cool that they've thought about that. So in terms of the interior, so as I mentioned on the Generation 2, this got updated with kind of a felt effect, and on the Generation 3, it's still a felt effect. It's got beautiful stitching down here that looks nice and luxurious and premium. This is all a little bit soft. This is soft. So this is a little bit padded. You've got 2 wireless charging ports, and it just looks really smart. This bit here now is a nice slide, which is good. I bought a third-party sliding thing that goes in there, which you can put extra stuff in, just to give you a bit of order. You can leave it there. That was just said on Amazon. It's like £25 for 2. I'll show you the other one in a minute. And then underneath, you've still got space for your sunglasses or maybe your wiping cloth or whatever. Cup holders are under here. So again, it's premium. You can put it back, same as this one. But they have added little squishy bits. So now it'll hold a can without rattling around. It's a simple thing, but it's nice, and I like the little chrome trims. I said it just says a bit more premium. Then the armrest, still not adjustable, but said it's actually just the right height, or it is for me. I don't know if that'd be a big problem for somebody who's a different height. And then inside, I've bought this little organizer piece that just sits there. And if you take the organizer out, then underneath, I've got some multi-surface wipes ready for these white seats. But you've got plenty of space under there as well. And a USB-C socket. Now that one's quite important because that one can put out, I believe, up to 65 watts, which means without an adapter, you could connect a MacBook Pro or but basically any laptop, and it will charge it straight from the car, which is fantastic. Really like that as a feature. So the front is nice and premium, and it's a comfortable place to be. The seat itself does feel just a touch more supportive than the other one, but I could be imagining it. It could be simply because the other one's had 30,000 miles of sitting on, and this one has had all of, 60 miles worth. Right, so in the back, the key difference is it's still batteries in the floor. So this is what I mean in terms of the gap under, your feet are a little bit raised. I'm an inch under 6 foot, so I'm not super tall, and this isn't uncomfortable, but it's not ideal. Still got your speakers and things back here. Again, you've got a nice carpeted bin, which is good, and it's big. You could easily get a bottle of water in there. You've got your window button and a picture of a door on the door opening button, which again is progress. Got a hook up here if you want to hang your jacket, same as in the other one, to be fair. And again, a light here, same as in the other one. So as you can see, it's still got this beam across the middle because the glass, one piece there, and then one piece that goes right down to the bottom, because this is a saloon and not a hatchback. So they have improved the armrest, which is good. Now you actually have an armrest and a cup holder. You don't have to choose. Look at that. That's the natural position. I like that a lot. And you'll notice beyond it, something else is new. So the back of the car now includes a screen for the passengers in the back. So they've still got a couple of USB-Cs to get those out of the way. This is a vent exactly the same as the front one, which means it gives directional air control. And I'll show you how. So if I put the wind straight at me, I can actually put my finger on the screen and decide where I want the air to blow. So each passenger has the freedom to be able to choose, based on their own comfort, where they want the air to be going, which gives them a lot more control in terms of making themselves comfortable. And on top of that, they've got some games. So you can Bluetooth connect a PlayStation controller, and then they can sit and play any of these games in the car. and then you've got media, so they can go onto Netflix or YouTube and watch videos in the back with the sound coming through the headphones, which is pretty fantastic, I've got to admit. The pocket on the back has changed design. It's now a spring, so you haven't got this kind of security here at the, you've got gaps at the side, but at the same time you can access it, so it's really easy to get in and out of, which I think is great. So all in all, the passenger experience back here I think is quite a bit nicer, simply because of the armrest and the screen. It's a little thing, but it helps. You've also got the ventilated seats on either side, not in the middle, but you don't have the cooling back here. They don't cool, they do heat, but they don't cool. So the fans for the cooling are only in the front. You also have the connections here if you want to attach a child seat. It's just in there, it's not that hard to get to. And you've got enough room in here to be able to do that. On that, by the way, if I swipe down on here, if you're sat in the back and you want a bit more room and you're sat on the left side behind the passenger, provided nobody's sat in the passenger seat, you can sit in the back and actually give yourself a bit more leg room. So it's a bit of a limousine space in that sense, which I do think is quite cool. But as I said, if the sensor senses that somebody sat in the front seat, then it doesn't work, which is good, because that was my concern when I first saw that feature, thinking, oh, my kids are just going to annoy my wife. But no, it does get deactivated when someone sat there. Okay, so here we are in the Generation 1. Now, it's still a fantastic car to drive. Make no mistake, Teslas, if you've never driven an electric car, the buzz of driving them is something else. Just the availability of torque, the sensorial difference, because obviously it's quieter. It's just really, really engaging. I love electric cars, I can't deny. And the Tesla is a cracking example of it. It's a car that was made, I said, obviously electric from the ground up, as opposed to many cars where they take an existing car and then make it electric. Like the BMW i4 is unquestionably built on the same chassis as the 3 Series and the 4 Series. So, you've got some compromises. Like they've still got the hump in the back, for example, even though there's no drivetrain going down there because the motors are independent. So, now to really point out one of the differences of this car, I'm currently on one of the worst roads I know for potholes. I mean, this road is absolutely awful. This is Sandy Lane in sunny Preston, just in case you're familiar with it. And this car, when I go over it, you're reminded just how incredibly stiff the suspension is. Now that's good on a nice flat road, but when you do have these bumps, you do feel every single one of them. I don't know how good my phone is going to be at removing the vibrations that are inevitably going through it. I'll probably have to try and edit them out. So when you're driving along, in this car, it works beautifully. It's a really easy car to drive. This one's 4-wheel drive, so it's very grippy. It will corner at speeds that, honestly, you'd think it shouldn't be able to take the corners at those speeds, and it just feels so mind-blowingly safe. The car just doesn't budge. It doesn't slide. It doesn't shift. You feel like it's far more capable than you are. In the grand scheme of things, to be fair, I think it could cope with much more than I'd be willing to throw at it. Okay, so I'm at 30 now, and if I put my foot down on chill, 40, 50. So it gets there pretty quick. You can't deny that. Whereas if I now put it into standard, and I'll drop down to 30, again, I'm moving to the right-hand lane, so I'm at 30 now, and if I put my foot down, that's 50. It's insane just how quick this thing is, particularly when it's in standard. Right, so we're going to join the motorway here. I have said it's still in standard as opposed to chill, so once I get on the slip road, I'll put my foot down, and we are at 70, and I was doing 30 at the start there. So that's how quickly this thing accelerates. It's madness. It's more power than anybody could ever need, to be fair. So it's about 360 brake horsepower. So here I am. I'm cruising at 70. I'll put the cruise control on. In fact, I'll do it twice, so it's got control of the steering, but you have to keep your hands on the wheel. And I'll just let you listen to the noise. Now, this microphone may well be cutting a lot of it out, so I'm intrigued to know exactly what kind of level of sound you can hear in here. But I can hear the wind around the wing mirrors. I can hear the road surface, and it is exceptionally noisy in comparison to, let's say, a normal car. You can definitely hear the difference. And this is a super smooth, relatively new piece of motorway. So therefore, this is probably as quiet as it can be. So it does take some getting used to the fact that when you are on the motorway in a Tesla, you will hear it. But it's still a fantastic experience. I said, you've just got to be really careful with that right foot, because you will find yourself doing much higher than you're supposed to in literally seconds if you're not careful. It's just so insanely quick. So that is the Generation 1. It's a really good driver's car. I would still recommend this car all day, every day to people. It's a superb standalone car. Okay, I'm now in the 2024 model, the Highland as such, and right from the bat, I've got to say, it just feels different. The suspension is definitely slightly softer. I'm just on that horrible potholey road now, and I'd imagine the phone is probably still shaking around, but I assure you it feels much, much, much more comfortable, which is going to make a big difference on longer journeys, particularly because the state of the British roads at the minute, they are so bad. And obviously it's a new car, so I appreciate wear and tear won't have played a part, but everything just feels more solid. You know, whereas before you had the creak that came from the seat, but also it kind of came from underneath the seat. You don't have that in this. Now that could be simply because it's new and hasn't done 30,000 miles like the other one. It could be because it's made in China instead of California, and the Chinese build quality is apparently quite a lot better. Plus, this is the 3rd generation. They've had time to get things right. So there's probably a whole host of reasons why, but you can feel the difference. It feels more premium than the other one. The other one is still special, make no mistake. Teslas, even though there's thousands of them, and there are thousands of them, it was one of the biggest selling cars every year since it's come out in the UK. Like in the top 10, pretty much consistently. So there's loads of them on the road, and yet they still attract attention. It's a funny thing. I think people assume they cost a lot more than they do. It's a lot of car for the money. I think it's incredible value for money in the grand scheme of things, if I'm honest. Easy for me to say, I know, because it's a company car. But genuinely, if I was spending my own money, I'd be delighted with what I'd got for the money that I'd spent. So I suppose the key questions that you probably want the answers to are, is it worth jumping from the Generation 1 to Generation 3? Depending on your situation, I suppose. If you come to the end of a lease and you're handing a Generation 1 back anyway, then you know you should be super excited about the Generation 3 that you're probably going to choose in its place. You know, lorry's out the way, so let's jump up to 70, 50, 60, 70 we're there. So it's, goodness me, that's fast. It really is more than fast enough. If you're new to Teslas and you're trying to decide whether or not you should buy a Generation 1, which is a bit of a bargain now, to be honest, because said you can buy 2-3-year-old ones with fairly average miles for less than £30,000. The quality of the thing now has come leaps and bounds from the Generation 1, but bear in mind a Generation 2 is what you'd get if you bought a 2-year-old car. And a lot of the improvements that I'm seeing on this car were already in place for the 2nd gen. So they're new to me, but they're not going to be new to people who are driving around in a 2nd generation one, which very quickly then, so if you have a 2nd gen and you're considering a 3rd, I wouldn't bother. I think most of the improvements that have been made in this car you've already benefited from, so you would probably be potentially a little underwhelmed. I guess that's probably my conclusion. If you are buying a Tesla and you've never had one before, honestly, try and buy a brand new standard range if you can stretch to it. If not, try and find a Generation 2. And again, rear-wheel drive standard range is absolutely fine. Don't worry about long range. Performance is incredible if you can have a go in one. 0 to 60 on that is 3.1 seconds, which is just nuts. I mean, it's nauseating, actually. The performance version in this latest generation, this Gen 3, which is £60,000, so £20,000 more than the standard range one I'm in at the minute, and that's a lot of money. Does 0 to 60 in, I think, 2.9. If it's any different, I'll put it on the screen now, but I think it's 2.9. Nice wheels, slightly different spoiler at the front or bumper, but 60 grand versus 40 grand. Honestly, buy a standard range and spend the other £20,000 on a motorbike. I hope this video has been useful for you, whichever situation you find yourself in. Maybe you're just curious and just fancy watching, learning a bit more about the new Tesla. Maybe you're just wanting to look at the ultra red. I know I was Googling every picture of it in ultra red when I placed my order just to see what it looked like. And to be honest, I hadn't seen it in person until the car arrived, and it is lovely. It's absolutely worth choosing. Anyway, sorry, I'm wittering. So I'll tell you what, how about if you like this video, you click the like button below, and if you'd like to see any more videos from me about Teslas or anything else that particularly takes my fancy, because I imagine there'll be more videos on this car coming, then please click subscribe. You don't have to watch every video that comes up, but at least you'll be notified, so you'll have the choice. Thanks so much for watching, particularly if you've managed to stay this long, because I've filmed a lot today, so I suspect this is probably quite a long video. But have a great day, and I will hopefully see you on the next video.